Hi boys, I'm back here with a new lesson. It's going to be dealing with factoring by grouping. If you're using the textbook for a reference, I'm taking this from the end of chapter 9. I believe it's 9.8. I do go out of order, but I will cycle back to the sections that I did miss within this chapter. I know that I'm going to be using factoring by grouping with this example because I see 4 terms within my polynomial. Automatically think that factoring method. And what you're going to do every single time is divide that polynomial directly down the middle. And by doing that, we're now going to reverse and go back to the greatest common factor method when it comes to factoring, and we're going to individually factor each side of the red line. So on the left side of the red line, I want to take out the greatest common factor between x to the third and 3x squared. I know I can't factor out a number, but I do see that both terms at least have 2 x's, so I can take out an x squared from both. Then I'm going to divide each of those terms by x squared, and x to the third divided by x squared is just x, and 3x squared divided by x squared is just going to leave us with positive 3. Then on the right side of the red line, I'm going to bring down my plus sign, because that will help me understand if I'm factoring out a positive or a negative from this side of the expression. And I'm going to see what is the greatest common factor between 5x and 15. Since both don't have an x, I know no variables can be taken out, but I can take out 5 from both because that's the greatest common factor between 5 and 15. So when I take out a 5 and I divide 5x by 5, I'm just left with x. And when I divide positive 15 by 5, I'm left with positive 3. Now I want you to look at the color choices that I made on purpose. Notice in green, we have the same binomial within the parentheses, which must happen in these examples. If that doesn't happen, you might have not factored out by the correct number. This is going to be part of our answer, just one of these groups of parentheses. The second answer to create the first binomial is what I wrote in purple. So what you're going to do is take out what I wrote in purple and make that into a binomial. So we're going to have x squared plus 5 within parentheses. Again, I apologize for my handwriting. And then we're going to multiply it by what's in green. X plus 3. And that is our final solution for factoring this 4-term polynomial. I do have another example to practice, just to make sure you understand how to do this process. We're once again going to divide our polynomial directly down the middle and factor each side. So on the left, once again, I notice I can only take out a variable. In this case, it is n squared. And when I divide each of those terms by n squared, I have 5n to the third divided by n squared, which is going to be 5n. And when I divide negative 4n squared by n squared, I'm just left with negative 4. On the right, I want to bring down that subtraction sign because it's going to be very helpful when it comes to factoring. And then I'm going to see what is the greatest common factor between 10n and 8. And I notice the biggest factor is only 2. Now when I'm factoring on this right-hand side, I want to be dividing each of these by a negative 2. That's why it's important you drop down the signs. So when I say 10 divided by, negative 10n divided by negative 2, I'm left with a positive 5n. And notice another key thing to remember is that should match up with the term on the left-hand side as well. And then I'm going to divide positive 8 by negative 2, which will give me negative 4, which keeps both sets of parentheses in green equal to each other, which again we want to happen. If that doesn't happen, when there is subtraction involved, just double check that you divided each of those by that negative term that you would have factored out. And then we're just going to combine our answers. So in purple, our first binomial is going to be n squared minus 2. And our second binomial is going to be 5n minus 4. And there you go. That's your factoring of this 4-term polynomial once again. Please show your work for these examples. Try your best. Message me with any questions. I'm sorry we cannot be together once again for this lesson, but you boys can power through. Good luck.